Today is Friday, 5th of February 2016. It is 1452 hours afternoon, Central European time. This is Good News to Fix Mundi, the last of these videos, yay! And the emails that I will send, email singular, the email that I will send to inform the regular recipients of my mails of that very video I'm recording here will be the last email I send, yay! In spite of what I'll do in the second half, just for completeness sake, I will answer a few non-questions again. And before that, a final time of banality. Yay! When I recorded the video yesterday afternoon, I said that I was left 90 euros. Turns out, for whatever reason, they deducted 138 euros that typically they deduct on the first of the month, if not no later than the second of the month. This time around they just deducted that on the 5th of the month, namely from the night from yesterday to today. So it turns out today that I don't have 90 euros left. I'm actually in the minus with 40 or something, which means I have about, I can tell you precisely, €5.39. That is what I have for the next 30 days, hypothetically. I doubt I will last that long. But then, just for completeness sake, I have at the course today, early afternoon or thereabouts, or if it even was afternoon, no, actually that was before noon it was even, I remember, I think at the 11 o'clock break or something, thereabouts, or 10 o'clock break already, I sent once more to the MI6, this time a bit of information, namely what I'll talk about in the second part of this video here. So before, sorry about that, that was just furniture moving by itself as the spirits moved it. The last hands of the non-questions, yay! I mean not the last because that'd be, I'm sure in your fucking useless minds there's a plethora of these, but as I try to envision them. I mentioned the 5 check boxes that you should check if you have one set up to not be checked. I mean checked as in check them out if they are not checked. That's what I meant. Don't check them. If you have one set up, in that particular case it was the to the def checkbox. I have mentioned in the past in the documents and the emails and whatnot how there's all manners of checkboxes. They work just the same there, and their count is just the same, and so on and so forth. But there I was talking about the to the def checkbox. And hypothetically, the question might arise to, I don't know how many of you out there, well, how many checkboxes are there with 2 setups? Which is, unlike how many checkboxes are there with 1 setup, an interesting question. Because at the moment that ego is involved on either of the setups, not necessarily on both at the same time, one only suffices, which means that on one of those 2 setups, the ego tree is not artificially split up into a con-ego and an ego, but at least on one of these it is intact. And, very important, if the apps are allowed to function as they would normally, and not with delusional crap functionality as they try to make these things work through the fields. Right, so how do I put that? They are not healthy, so I don't want to call them a healthy app, but a regularly functioning app would have that count with 2 setups be 9 checkboxes hence. Because you'd have 5 and you'd have 5, but the one for the ego tree on each would overlap at the moment where at least on one of them the ego is involved and not kept out of it by splitting up the ego tree and just dragging con ego into it. Okay? There. Otherwise, if it's just con ego done what's worked and the ego is not involved on either tree, you actually most probably have 10 of these. In fact, you would, if you look at it that way, you would nonetheless have 10, just that if ego is involved on either side, checking or unchecking one on a left alone to operate as intended app, you would automatically uncheck or check that identical checkbox on the other setup, because ego is involved, right? There, a little technicality, completely in vain because of the second part of this video, but I just had it written down. I just want to work them off as I have my questions here. Do you remember, sorry, that R is not quite legible. Do you remember you had Thailand declare war on practically all countries on Earth? Yeah, I think I remember something like that, and in fact I remember it perfectly fine. But what you don't quite seem to remember is that that is not quite the way it was. The way it was is that all of your countries out there declared war on all mankind, and Thailand accepted that war, and out of courtesy declared war on you. Don't fuck up history for the few years that history will be left. Please. So yes, I remember, and I did it for all the right reasons, and nothing about that has changed. At all. Here's a long one. Could it be you are drunk or else how intoxicated during the recording of some of your videos? The answer is no. I am actually a teetotaler, pretty much. As long as I still had money when I had a job and whatnot, I typically consumed about 1 bottle of red wine in a year, namely over the summer months, and that was it. Other than that, I don't drink alcohol at all. I don't even drink beer, okay? So, no, and I don't take any, other than tobacco, and those don't intoxicate you, I don't consume any illegal substances. And nor is it any substances produced by the brain in a sense that they'd be milked, so to speak. Nothing like that. It is just delusional functionality shoved live through the fields down the lines of what used to be mannerism app, voice app, and so on and so forth. That's all it is. And to a certain extent, delusional functionality of what some of those elements would come out of just simply having a VI declared. So that is also answered. Here's another thing. See, when I talked about them messing with the weather, what I said was they manipulate the weather. And what I mean by that is they manipulate the weather. They don't bloody make the weather. What do I mean by that? I mean by that it is technologically not that way, that their technology is so fucking powerful to give any place on Earth whatever kind of weather they like. But if you have naturally occurring whatever, if there is, say, a flood already happening by all natural reasons, because there's a whole lot of rain, it is very easy to just keep that on a little longer than it would have naturally lasted and give it even more rain, right? They can crank existing phenomena or tie them down before they really truly manifest, right? They manipulate weather, they don't bloody make weather. Very important. And also, there is, I mentioned the lightning strikes not happening and so on and so forth. At a certain point, there is an outside chance that the cause and symptom / effect direction is actually the other way around from me having explained it. It might actually be their fields that do something electrically to the air to prevent lightning to occur, rather than them doing something to the, how do I put that? I'm not explaining this right. It might be the fields it might not be that they try to protect their fields that they have from the lightning, but it might be that the fields themselves have the effect that lightning is prohibited. I hope that made sense. Though I still think it's the other way around. I mean, at the end, it doesn't matter which way around it is. I assure you, the weather is, the lightning strike count is forged for the weather people, and so on and so forth. And that is that. That was just a few of them. Is there anything else before I wind up with the second part of this video? No, there is not. So, second part of the video. What did I write the MI6 today? I wrote the MI6 that they are fired. And what I meant with that is fired from being recruited for Mankind. Now, before any of you say, well, but number 12 allegedly deserted and then again not, and number 18 was allegedly declared out of it and then again not, this time around this is something different. As the prime protector of Mankind, I can also say, just as I can declare and point out to everybody else in the world who is prime enemy of Mankind, I can also say who certainly the fuck is not doing anything for Mankind, and consequently will get fired from the status of being recruited for Mankind. And other than me, nobody can recruit for Mankind, nor shall there ever be anyone who can recruit for Mankind. And when I say the MI6 is fired, I don't happen to have a particular grudge against the MI6 themselves. Doesn't he know it's called SIS these days? Yes, he does know. I still call it MI6 because that's a magnificent name for it, actually. Right? A little non-question here. Still, it's also the MI5. Why? Because number 11 has been fired. And not just has number 11 been fired, but all the numbers, other than 0, which I cannot fire. 0 is there a priori, and only ever once, and that is me. And all of you out there fucked it up, and Mankind is done. And I don't mean me, the prime protector of Mankind, I mean Mankind the species, Homo sapiens, done, period. I officially state that Mankind is done, because you all failed and are useless. Chicken shit and traitors. And because you just don't bloody get it. And I know that some of you will say, well, you had the advantage of having all of that shit, we just have half of that shit. That was not an advantage. For the billionth time, I assure you, that was not an advantage. And then there'd be the other people who say, well, maybe then we're at a disadvantage because we didn't. No. Quintessentially, I don't care how arrogant or whatever else this sounds, quintessentially, some of you, namely a whole lot of you, are apparently simply too stupid. That is scientifically the correct word for it. And also stylistically, when it comes to language. It is the one appropriate word for it. You are too stupid. Period. I don't care if you bring 3 fucking doctorates from whatever field. You don't fucking get it. That means you are too stupid. Now, back to nobody being recruited anymore. That means they're all fired. Even the Spaniards from yesterday, you know, hola, eh? Once more. Yeah, sorry about it. You incidentally, this, I just caught it in the news this morning, this, canceling or postponing, not canceling, their trip to bloody Albion, that is sheer coincidence, okay? I assure you. Nothing to do with anything. But, you know, the Spaniards, forget what I said. That thing with the blades, forget what I said. Don't break that nice sword. It'll just be around for a few years. Well, the sword actually stands a pretty good chance of being around for a whole long time to come, unlike Mankind. So there'll be no one to bloody look at the sword. But hey, keep that sword up. Who was that? Ferdinand III in that bloody church or wherever the fuck else. Don't bother making a new one. It's pointless. Period. You have failed and betrayed all of Mankind, all of you out there. Not just the Spaniards, all of you, right? So, no fucking Spaniards, no fucking Japanese in number 1. Number 8, poof. Number 9, Missouri, poof. Number 10, trash, poof. Number 11, MI5, MI6, I explained that. Number 12, Virginia, West Virginia, the unknown victim, somewhat unknown victim, poof. Number 13, Limbo Brass, poof. And number 14, the Soviets and the KGB, they just had it there too, but then poof, useless, because a day or two would have sufficed to get my ass out of here, but that does not happen. How? And not to forget, Edward, poof. There. No more recruited for Mankind, nor shall anybody ever again be recruited for Mankind. It's over. It will take a few years to understand, it will take a few years to happen, but it's over. I will be long dead. I'm not saying I'm happy about it, I'll just point this out as a fact. Why am I bringing this up today? Because at the course today, I mean already yesterday there was again a new varied approach of torturing me here at home, but even at the course today, they tortured me in such ridiculing ways that it just, you know, this is 39 fucking years into my life, which from practically earliest childhood onward has been nothing but manipulated in a big way. This is 3 years into me actively trying to fight against Fix Mundi. This is 2 years into me competently understanding who the fuck Fix Mundi is. And also 2, 3 really years, it certainly is 3 years when it comes to the fucking up amp, because I'm sure back in 2013 I had to delete all these documents before I deleted the apps. They forced me through the apps to delete the 2013 documents and emails and whatnot, but back then already. And I do know I sent some of that to the Bundesheer because I wanted to just, you know, not have them say, oh well, we never heard up, you know. I told you, I recorded a fucking video in which I explained the filth that is the up amp. You still let them live. You let all of this continue. All of you out there. I asked you for money. I asked you for a lot of things. I asked you for a gun to kill myself. That never came my way. I asked you for cigarette money. That never came my way. I thought, well, you know, we're doing marketing in this unemployment course right now, and they're talking about how some products, you know, need a high price to it all gain attention. You know, that just a low price is not the right thing. So I figured, well, all right, well, I'll talk to the fucking rich people and demand bloody millions in help to mankind. And that money didn't come. I kindly asked being gotten out of here. That didn't happen. I tried myself to get out of here. And fucking filth at Calais told me, you fucking go die. This is over. Now, until I actually am dead, which won't take that long, but until that happens, I will nonetheless be Prime Protector of Mankind. I will just have realized there is apparently nothing the fuck I can actually do. There. That does not change anything about me being Prime Protector of Mankind. And it does not change anything about all of Fix Mundi being Fix Mundi. And about the prime enemy of mankind being the prime enemy of mankind. And about the fact that quintessentially what will have done away with mankind eventually was not inhumane technologies. Those are just technologies. Technologies do not do away with people. It is the users of technologies. And in particular those users with that fucking insanity in their head called religion. When it comes, and most of you will live to see that day, and please don't bother having kids at this point because they will not get very old. When it comes to that day when you realize that all of mankind will go to the dogs, you should remember, if you ask yourself, well, how comes? The religious people. All of them. And no, this is not me falling into the rabid atheist again, because I'm not rabid. I ain't. I am an atheist. I'm not rabid though. The sheer, see, a little ridicule is that 6G does not suffice. They are working on trying to create some monstrosity of Lurchy that they claim proves the religion thing wrong, that I explained about finance system, and that apparently it goes beyond G. It's actually that direction. It's not really downwards, it's that direction that they work. So it would go into H and I and J and whatnot. When, first of all, that is just a somewhat virtually puzzled together joint effort of people out there and not individuals. I mean, not one individual. And in addition to that, the G ones will be put down already. Would, hypothetically. It's not going to happen. But the G ones would be put down already. Which really means that that table means anything hypothetically beyond G, but yeah, you're going to get put down too. I don't have to put you in that fucking table, because that word putting down on you starts. And if you're fucking Z, and that is that one, for the Americans, right? It's not Z, it's Z. If you're fucking Z, that does not change anything. So, and this is the only thing I try to look up. Quite a while back, I found on Google's image search this is black and white still, why ever. I found a magnificent image of, no, sorry, it was not black and white, sorry. Unless there is a black and white version of that photograph, or maybe I found it on some website or something. Anyhow, if I type Prince Charles into Google, namely image search, I get an image which is from the English Wikipedia website currently, and The Prince in Buckingham Palace in 1974 by Alan Warren. Look at that photograph. Irregardless of fucking Marlon and whatever lurchy connections in America and in, unfortunately, ex-Germany, he sicked at me. Marlon is dead. There's one lucky fucker. But irregardless of that, irregardless of the unspeakable Abwärmt, irregardless of what the Abwärmt associates with, that creature, Charles, look at that. Just look at that 74 photograph. If you want to know who, how do I put that? Who sacked in a footballing term, U.S. footballing, I think that's called a sack. And if you bring down the quarterback, is that called a sack? I think it's called a sack. Who sacked the prime protector of mankind? For all practical purposes, then that piece of shit there. Right here. Not the fucking Abwärmt. Not fucking Marlon and this bunch. That piece of shit. And interestingly, not just very recently, but throughout his entire fucking life, with all his royal incompetence, that piece of shit there. Now, please don't harm the man, because it wouldn't make any fucking difference. Mankind is done for. And he might say, well, you know, there's almost 7 billion other people out there who could have helped you, and he would have a point there. My goodness! But all of them are no-shows. Because the fucking NSA, instrumentally included in everything, which, if you go through all my documents, I'd probably ask you about 50 fucking times to nuke, or else how destroy, succeeded to keep information from people. And where they didn't keep information from people, they horrendously forged information. That is the infrastructural fault, why the information didn't go anywhere. And the entire situation is so grotesque and useless in the first place is fucking bunny fuck. And there you go. Just in case you wonder, how comes mankind will go extinct? So have a few last years. I won't.